YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Today I got my Minnesota Vikings 2021 record predictions going game by game. And we'll do best case scenario and worst case scenario as well, doing this for every single NFL team. There's a playlist on the channel with all the ones I've done and all the ones I will do. A lot of NFL content here every single day, so make sure you like, subscribe, follow our Twitter. You guys are voting for who wins each division. You'll basically create a playoff field and that'll create a video as well. So keeping you guys involved here. Any link that you're looking for, like that Twitter, down in the description in the comment section. And then for this these videos, we're using playoffpredictors.com. You can check it out, play along. Minnesota Vikings, their offense started getting going really late last year, ended up number 5 offense. But the defense was, went big time on a decline, but seemed to change some things around this year, and it looks like a whole new defense. So we'll see if they could actually finally be on the same page, offense and defense wise. It's inconsistent. 1 week the offense shows up. That seems to be what it is for the Vikings. But we'll see what they can do. The roster looks pretty good. Just about staying healthy, which the defense was not able to do last year. Tough schedule. I noticed that for all these NFC North teams. Once we've done some of these record predictions for them. Week 1 though, I'll go through, do my predictions, and then we'll circle back and do best case and worst case scenario. For a week 1 against the Bengals, this actually could be a pretty good game. Joe Burrow obviously expected to play, and I do think the Vikings defense will be, I don't want to say back because I think we're used to Zimmer's defense being top tier. I don't know if it's going to be that good, but I definitely think it'll be close to back. I think it'll be pretty good. But if there is, a way to beat them, I think airing the ball deep downfield, which I think Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd could do. So I do think the Bengals will score some points, good amount of points in this game. But I also think the Vikings, I think it's going to be an offensive game is what I'm getting to. I think the Vikings will have some success offensively running the ball with Dalvin Cook, and then it'll open up the pass. I'm going to go with the Vikings, trust them a little more. That should be a pretty good game. In Arizona, week 2, another one to be pretty good. I think the Vikings really get going on the ground in this game. I think their running game is too much for the Cardinals to handle there, so I do like the way the Vikings match up. The Cardinals' pass rush could be a factor. So the start of this game would be huge. If the Vikings aren't able to get things going on the ground early and they're forced to pass and the Cardinals are scoring, forcing the Vikings to play keep up, that's when it'll be a factor. But I think the Vikings will be very effective right out the gate running the ball against this Cardinals defense. Like what they're doing at the inside linebackers, but they got a ways to go there. It's pretty young. The defensive line is pretty much just J.J. Watt. There's not a lot that is stopping the run. And then once they're in the box, you can throw on that secondary. Seattle versus Minnesota, pretty good game. Seems like they play every year. It seems like the Seahawks always win this game. This one finally is in Minnesota, though. I still like the Seahawks. I think they'll be able to air the ball downfield quite a bit. They seem to be able to somewhat slow the run of the Vikings rushing attack, and that'll probably be enough there. Seattle, Russell Wilson, they're always early season. They're always dominant, getting the ball downfield, and then that'll be the factor in this game. Cleveland versus Minnesota, another really good game. Stefanski playing his old team here. They have the same exact system on offense. They almost have a similar defense as well. So this should be a fun game. I think the difference is, they're both top-tier, high-powered running offenses. So you could say whoever runs the ball better, or maybe whoever stops the run a little better than the other team. In Minnesota, I trust the Vikings to slow the Browns rushing attack down more than the Browns slow the Vikings rushing attack down. I think the Vikings kind of built their defense this offseason to be able to just shut down the run, with that interior defensive line, and we know their linebackers are very solid. Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr. With Pierce and Tomlinson on the inside. The Browns, if there was a spot they were kind of lacking on defense, I'd say the interior defensive line and maybe the inside linebacker unit there to stop the run. So I think that will be the slight difference in this game. So the Vikings starting off hot. In the back part of the schedule is the tough part. So kind of about the opposite of the Bears if you watch the Bears video. So I have them beating the Lions here. I have them beating the Panthers here. I think they'll get going on offense and they can create turnovers on defense in that game. I really like the matchup there. Bye week, if you remember the Cowboys video, I was really on the fence about this one. But if the Cowboys are healthy, I'm going to go with the Cowboys. It's prime time in Minnesota, makes it interesting. The Vikings definitely could win. But I think the variety of receivers, the number of receivers and weapons the Cowboys have with Dak Prescott and the ability to block the Vikings pass rush. All of that combined, I do think the Cowboys could actually run up the score in a game like this, if healthy, of course. You worry about Dak, you worry about the tackles, maybe Zach Martin, the guard, but I plan on them being healthy in Week 8, so I do think they have a matchup that favors them against the Vikings, getting the ball downfield, and maybe, it'd probably be a high-scoring game, I'd say. And then you got Vikings at Ravens. It's going to be a pound the football fest here. I think the Ravens do a pretty good job, it seems like, against the really good rushing teams, slowing them down enough. And I think Lamar Jackson being the problem on the opposite side is a reason, both those, a reason why they win these heavyweight rushing battles. So I'm going to take the Ravens at home. Vikings-Chargers, pretty good game here. Another game where I think the Vikings will be effective running the ball, what they do best. And I like the way their defense matches up against Herbert, too. They can, Herbert could have a solid game. I think the Vikings defense can create some turnovers, just kind of game plan for the pass only. I think the Vikings rushing attack in a matchup like that could be the difference. Packers-Vikings split last year. Vikings seemed to game plan pretty well with them the second time around for some reason in Lambeau. I think they split again, but at this time I think they win home games, so that we can go ahead and go like that. Maybe some expect the Packers to win both. It's a possibility. We could circle back and do best case, worst case. Vikings versus 49ers, a tough one too. It's good for the Vikings' sake that they play the 49ers later rather than earlier. You do worry. I always talk about the 49ers, an ultimate team that you kind of question, can they stay healthy? So in Week 12, how healthy are they going to be? Who's going to be at quarterback? I would prefer Trey Lance over Garoppolo for a team like the Vikings. Maybe Trey Lance can create problems for them, and the Vikings should be able to stop the run at a pretty solid level, though. I don't know if the 49ers present something on offense that is going to beat the Vikings. I think the Niners play a good defensive game against the Vikings because they probably get pressure if they're healthy. But I think the Vikings have, those one or two or three more explosive playmakers that'll be on the field. And I think, that could be the difference. And maybe a low-scoring game. What kind of big play could they get? That one big play on offense. So I do like the way the Vikings match up. The problem could be the Niners pass rush. If it's fully healthy, that could be the result in a different outcome. That's one we can go back and forth on. But I just don't know if the 49ers get enough, enough in their passing game, from their quarterback play there in that game to make that extra play. Vikings-Lions, the Lions could get one on them. It's possible, just like the Bears. I end up going Vikings with both. Thursday night football, Steelers, Vikings, another one that can go either way. They both want to run the ball more. The Vikings, obviously, that's what they do. And the Steelers adding Najee Harris. I think a heavyweight defensive game, extremely low scoring. It's going to be what big play that team can make in the passing game. But I look at the pass rush. I do like the Vikings pass rush a lot if Danielle Hunter's playing. But I think TJ Watt and company, Stephon Tuitt, Cam Hayward, I think create a ruckus in that game, and that'll be the difference. So defensive game, that extra play in terms of quarterback pressure, I think is the difference. So I do like the matchup for the Steelers. Vikings-Bears Monday night in Chicago. This is where it gets really tough. In Chicago, it's always a tough one. The Vikings did win that game last year. It's probably going to be a squeaker. It's going to be a tight ball game. I'm going to take the Bears at home. And then Rams-Vikings, this is a tough one too because the Vikings are familiar with Stafford. They've had success against Stafford, but now he's on a much better team, than he was with the Lions. I like the way the Rams match up with the Vikings. I think they can get pressure with Aaron Donald and company. They have the secondary to not allow, they're going to stop the run first. They're going to get pressure. They're going to, that secondary can hold things down perhaps against a very good receiver unit. And I do think this Rams-McVay offense could give problems to the Vikings defense. So the matchup on both sides of the ball just screams Rams to me. I keep worrying if Stafford, because it seems like the Vikings play Stafford at this time of the year every single year, week 16 around here, and Stafford is either playing at about 40% or he's not playing at all because he's hurt, and the Vikings win the game because of that. That could be the case here, but I'm not really going to predict that. The matchup screams Rams to me on both sides of the ball, so I'm going to go that. And then, of course, we went Packers on the split. So that's a 4-game losing streak. That's pretty damn tough there after an incredible start. And I do think they'll split with the Bears. So it ends up being a pretty solid record in 10-7. But this 4-game stretch, if you just flip one of these games, maybe they take care of the Steelers here. then it looks, I mean, one game difference looks a lot better at 11-6. But if we do want to go best case scenario, remember I did have them starting 2-0. You know, between the first 4 games, I just, you know, I don't see them winning all 4. You know, it could be like this maybe. So I'm not really going to switch anything there because I don't see them, you know, and then I have them beating the Lions in the pan. I don't see them starting 6-0, you know, so this is kind of close to best case scenario, even though it's very, very realistic for them. I think they can beat the Cowboys at home in prime time. I remember I did have them beating the Niners. I think between these games down here, maybe Stafford's hurt, 12-5. I mean, you would expect them, maybe the Steelers not be able to get much offense. I just don't see them winning 13 games, but this is realistic, or something like this maybe. I think 12 wins is probably with this schedule. And then maybe some doubt about them staying consistent because it feels like, all right, offense is finally good, but the defense is not playing good. All right, the defense is playing good. The offense, that's kind of my feeling with the Vikings. Another team that can beat anybody but lose to anybody. But can they show up in those big-time, prime-time games? You see, I got them losing, you know, all of these here, actually. So that's pretty tough. What is it? The Cowboys, the Steelers is prime time, the Bears Monday night, and the Packers on Saturday. Are they going to go 0-4 prime time? It's possible. You know, people kind of put that label on Kirk Cousins can't win prime time games, but the Vikings, it's kind of been that for the Vikings even before Kirk Cousins. So that is possible, but best case is around 12 wins. Worst case, you know, they probably can lose one of these first. I think they're more likely to lose the Bengals and the Cardinals. Maybe that's just me. I think the Cardinals are better. They just match up in my mind. They can lose the Seahawks. They can lose the Browns. We had them already losing the Cowboys. I mean, they can go 0-2 against the Packers. They can lose to the Niners here. Already had them losing the Steelers. Can drop. 6 wins maybe is it's hard to see the Vikings being a 6-win team. It seems like they're pretty consistent. Last year was an off year, but it wasn't, you know, this bad, 6 wins. You know, they're a pretty consistent team where they're borderline a playoff team up to win a playoff game, maybe team. So I think the realistic range is around that 9, 10, 11 wins, 9, 10, 11, yeah, around there. Same thing with the Bears we talked about. We talked about kind of the 8, 9, 10 range. It's very similar there. In the opposite of the Bears, you know, for the Vikings, I had them going on an absolute tear early on here with these games, and then the back half of the year, they really start to, that 4-game losing streak. You know, maybe people won't see that; they won't view them going on a 4-game losing streak. So if they can win one of those games, remember I did have them beating the Packers once, which is definitely realistic, but some may think 2-0, and I did have them beating the Niners. So people may say it's more realistic if something like this happens. It ends up being the same outcome, though. Got to pull off one of those primetime games. You know, they got to pull one off. At least one. I mean, you want them to, if you're a fan, you want them to get all of them, obviously, but you better go at least 50% there. So we'll see what happens. You know, it's all about staying healthy on the defensive side of things because they were, you know, it was bad from the start, but then down in crunch time when they actually thought they could make the playoffs, when they were in somewhat of a playoff push. I mean, it was just, they had practice squad guys out there. It was rough. So they got to stay healthy defensively. And the offense got to keep going. You know, Kirk Cousins, beginning of the season versus late season, huge difference. Got to stay consistent. And yeah, hopefully the offensive line progresses too. It's looking good for the future. That offensive line is very young. Brian O'Neill being the oldest one of the starters. So I am excited about the future there for the Vikings. But if they can get things going here, which is expected, that'll be ideal. But yeah, that's going to do it for the Vikings record predictions. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Got the Packers and the Bears up already. Lions is next. They're next. And then we'll keep going on until we finish all the teams. Again, there's a playlist with all of these videos in them. And we got full NFL coverage here. Follow that Twitter. Very important. Like, subscribe. Be much, much appreciated. It's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.